All right, and I've got some slides here I'm going to be using during the presentation. So can you all see the slide?
I can see him here.
Okay. All the data that I'm going to be presenting with you all today, we get from different sources. So everything we do is data driven in the visitor center with our marketing, with our research, with what we do to drive tourism and visitation to the area. So we use a lot of data research from U.S. Travel Association, Destinations International, Southeastern Tourism Society, Visit NC Commerce, the North Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association, Travel and Tourism Research Association, even TripAdvisor, Expedia, Brand USA, and several other companies that we are able to get information from. And this data is coming out basically weekly that we're able to utilize. I'm going to start out with some of the harder things to swallow. I like to start out with those things first and then kind of come back later on with some of the good things that are going to be happening and good things that are starting to go on in our county. Just this week, from the U.S. Travel Association and Tourism Economics, which they are putting out reports frequently, they've analyzed the effect by the pandemic on our industry. And the latest estimates suggest direct travel losses of $519 billion by the end of the year, which is a huge decline. That's $1.2 trillion in total economic output and loss of 8 million travel-related jobs as of May 1st, with a total impact of now 9 times greater than 9/11. I know before I said it was 7 times. We're looking at 9 times now on the tourism industry. Also, as of May 19th this week, the U.S. Travel Association put out a weekly COVID update. Looking at our most recent data, and some of this is really hard to look at, but while the U.S. economy is headed for a recession, the travel industry, we're already in a depression. We've had the worst year since the Great Depression, which unemployment then was 25%. We are now at 51% in the travel and tourism industry, which is definitely the worst we've ever been at. Travel-related jobs represent 38% of all jobs lost in April in our country. We're averaging the travel sector below 78% in March and April. This is, again, United States statistics that I'm giving you first. I'd like to give you an overview first. From a North Carolina standpoint, we're looking at being from the 6th most visited state now to the 6th highest in unemployment. And a lot of those jobs are attributed to restaurant jobs, hotel jobs, anything that's travel and tourism related. So that's a hard pill to swallow as well. Also, before all this started, the restaurant and lodging establishments provided more than 13% of the state's workforce and generated $23.5 billion in sales annually. And a lot of these restaurants had to be forced down all of a sudden. And of course, the hotels as well had dramatic decreases in occupancy. As we know, the governor has gone into phase 2, so things will start to brighten up this weekend. I know several restaurants are very excited about that, and we hope to see those numbers start to decrease as restaurants are now looking at hiring folks back. I've seen several posts locally for people hiring staff already, so that is a positive thing. Also, looking at our hotel industry, we have 1,800 hotels in North Carolina with 52,000 employees, and we've lost 23,000 of those employees due to COVID-19. They've been laid off or furloughed. In North Carolina, we do have around 155,000 hotel rooms that have to be filled. And in the month of April, the lodging industry in the United States was filling 1 out of 5 rooms. So you can see why staff was let go. Just this week, as you all noticed, Ruby Tuesdays has closed in Mount Airy. Also, Ruby Tuesdays in Clemens was closed yesterday. Cheddar's in Winston-Salem. So we're seeing impacts not only in small towns versus large towns. Also, a Vivian Howard restaurant was shut down yesterday in Kinston called the Boiler Room. So we're talking big impacts on our industry. Also, since the beginning of March, we're looking at $157 billion in cumulative losses for the U.S. travel industry. We gauge everything from February numbers, March, April, and May. By far, we're faring a lot better off than other states. We do have some states that have 95% declines. Those would be places like Hawaii, where air travel is extremely down, DC, where there's an epidemic, Chicago, where there's a huge epidemic as well. Our area, with having less numbers of the cases, will fare well. And we've continued to kind of see an increase of tourists coming in here to our county. One of the big things that stands out to me is the declines in the travel spending, how it's going to impact our federal, state, and local taxes. And the estimated revenue for the month of March was over $20 billion in lost taxes because of the travel and tourism industry impacting, and that's for the United States. Some good things that are coming up that the U.S. Travel Association is putting out every week, and things are happening weekly in Washington, D.C. But the House Democrats passed the HEROES Act and this version of the round of coronavirus relief legislation on Friday, and this will be $3 trillion stimulus money intended to serve as a foundation for continuing negotiations with the Republicans. And what this will do, they're still going to be negotiating this after Memorial Day, but it will continue to allow businesses in the travel and tourism industry to be included in the next round of some of these bills. Some of the travel and tourism industry was left out of some of these bills, and they're still negotiating that to get assistance. The Federal Reserve is also preparing to launch the Main Street Lending Program by the end of May, which will provide loans to small and medium-sized businesses that were also in good financial standing before the pandemic. That was according to the Federal Reserve Chairman. And there are literally things happening weekly that are impacting our businesses here that I will provide you guys information and timelines once that information is passed down to me. Now let's get to some of the positive things too that are going on in our area. Our cities and county in our state, we're in a really good position to recover quickly. And as people are starting to lift bans in several of the states, I think all the states have lifted their bans at least a little bit. The public is starting to look at short places to drive, to escape, and where they feel safe and where they feel a good place to go and visit. With us being located 5 hours within half the U.S. population, and also having an array of the top two things that people are looking for, which is outdoor recreation and small towns that are deemed safe places to visit, or having that feeling of feeling safe. That is why Mount Airy, Surry County, our towns look to stand to recover quickly. Leisure travel is the top trend to recover the fastest, and we are a leisure destination. We're not built on business travel. We don't have a convention center to fill like some of these other towns. And we do have small towns, which we are seeing that data that is recovering quickly. 1 in 5 travelers are willing to drive 500 or more miles one way for a leisure trip in the next 6 months. So people are starting to plan out, and Jenny Smith can tell you as all the requests are coming in the visitor center, it is heavily increased in the last 2 weeks. We have had several people looking to plan trips, requesting visitors guides, wine trail maps, outdoor recreation information. They are ready to get out. Now, it might not be right now, but they're looking at places to go. I've mentioned this on a couple other seminars, but people are looking at revenge travel as their first place to get away, and that's going to be a short drive destination and maybe even a short overnight. They're tired of being at home. They're ready to get away, especially those with teenagers in the house. They're about to go crazy, and they need a break, and they need a short break to get away. The more remote you are right now in terms of where you're located is the best they're faring in terms of occupancy. So it's basically everything in the travel industry has flipped. So before, everybody was in the big cities where the conventions were. Now it's everybody wants to be in the more rural areas where it's safe, where there's cabins, but they still have access to things like wineries, breweries, local wines, which you can still get by curbside. Those were not included in phase 2, which is a huge hit to our industry. We're still trying to get that passed, but that is going to be hard for the wineries that don't serve food going forward to get open, hopefully in phase 3. Also, while the bans have been lifted, you're starting to see an influx of people into the mountainous regions, which we're in the mountains area. We're close to the Blue Ridge Parkway. So that is going to heavily impact us as well, and hopefully drive up our occupancy, bring people into our restaurants as well as of hopefully by June. Again, they're looking for outdoor recreation, our state parks, our mountains. With us having 3 state parks, our Greenway has been a huge utilized resource in the past several months, not only for locals, but by people that are still here in the area. We still have visitors here in our area. The fastest growing trend right now in our industry is RV camping, trailer camping, pop-ups, and camping in general. Outdoor recreation is, like I said, leading the way, and people want access to fishing, hiking, camping, picnicking, and things like that. 8 million people on RVs, and gas is cheap. So they're going to be coming into our county to buy gas, and they're going to be hitting the road in May. And Mayberry Campground, if you ride out there and take a look, it's basically pretty much full. You can still social distance in a camper, and you can work in these as well, as long as you have Wi-Fi. So people are kind of falling into that trend and hitting the road as well. 50% of our tourism spending comes from in-state residents, and Visit and See is going to be shifting their advertising towards drive markets, and we will be following suit with that as well. We do know that visitors are not ready to hear the message right now that we want you to come see us now. But they do want to hear and see the places that they love, and they love Mount Airy, and they love the wine region, they love our parks. So we are focusing on that with our social media, with our advertising that we have that's currently running. Sometimes we have, year-long contracts, and it's hard to get out of some of those contracts. So we've shifted our advertising in those, but we've stopped a lot of our advertising as well. But our messaging will be basically about those places you love and miss during this time, and when it's right to come and visit, and when they're ready and feel safe, that is what that advertising will look like. That's what it looks like.